Yeah. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We got a special guest in here with us tonight on this wonderful Wednesday night. I hope everybody's doing good. Lyle, I think I might get my butt wet before I can get back home tonight.
Well,
It does started drizzling, so hopefully we don't get no thunder and lightning like we did yesterday, but I believe we'll be all right.
yep, don't
Thank
need
y'all
no
for,
bad weather.
yeah. Thank y'all for coming in. I know Lyle said he's been dealing with a lot of high winds out there, and we got some the other day too. I don't like it. Seems like it's just getting windier and windier and windier. They better quit cutting down all the windbreaks called trees and start planting more of them. But thank y'all for coming in tonight. I will give some few shout outs tonight too, if you don't mind it. But God bless you and God bless your families and God bless America. And we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal and endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights. And among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And, you know, seems like every Monday night, Wednesday night, Tuesday night, Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, everybody's wanting to talk about catfishing. So that must be everybody's love that we associate with here on YouTube. And I mean, there's a few other things we watch. You probably watch some old car drag races, and you know, I watch some old gold mining, and y'all see my mushrooms I posted up.
Oh, so, look good.
Yeah, so don't narrow your field of vision, guys, because sometimes you might get to watching a video that don't have nothing to do with catfishing, but then all of a sudden you've seen something and you'll say, "How dang, I never thought about it that way." People that use limb lines. A lot of people won't throw their baits right up against the bank, Lyle. And them limb liners, they catch a lot of big old catfish right against the freaking banks.
They sure do. Them fish, when they're feeding, they don't just feed in one area. They feed everywhere, right next to the banks where a lot of times the bait fish will be, like bluegill and stuff like that, pan-sized fish, and they're up there getting them, especially flatheads.
Yeah, flatheads. And, you know, that's where it comes good, not just to put them on the bottom, but also float them too.
That's right.
But so tonight, guys and gals, tools. A tool is a hook, a line, a rod, reel, whatever you just. Sorry. Man, that about stopped halfway up. It's a tool. What would you think your definition of a tool would be, Lyle?
Something to help you get a job done easier.
Right. For a specific job, you want to. Sometimes it takes a very specific tool. Sometimes you can't finesse it with a daggum 2-pound ball peen hammer.
I don't know. You'd be surprised. I put some square pegs in some round holes over the years.
Yeah, you can do a lot of convincing with a 2-pound hammer, that's for sure. But, you know, you don't want to put a big pair of channel locks on a 1/4-inch bolt.
No, you're right. You don't.
So that's what we're going to try to touch on tonight, is doing some very specific type of tackle talk. And I'm glad y'all come in and join us. So, Lyle, let's get him up here to the top and give some shout outs. There's Mr. Avid, the Squirrel, Billy Martin. There's Mark from Catfish and Crappie. There's Mr. Chad Fields. And I hope Miss D's in there too with us tonight. Let's see who else we got in there. I see here Mr. Creole. I just got through watching your latest video. That was a pretty good size. What does he call them daggum bullheads?
I don't know what he calls them.
He calls them something down there. I'm sure he'll tell us after saying that.
I'm sure so, yeah.
Yeah. Tell us what you're talking about. There's Irvin. I talked to Irvin today. John Patrick Jr., Kevin Baker. There's Mr. Freddie, my gold mining buddy. The Bullock Experience from Mr. Kelly. Chucky Morgan. Jeff Baker. Shout out some. I got to close this screen door before the wind rips it off my building.
All right. There's Avid and Irwin, the paid fit tourist. Maurice Kaysen, one of my favorite guys. Annette Morgan. Joe's Fishing Adventures.
Sorry about
Let's see who I've got. Jose's Fishing Adventures.
Mr. Maurice Casey in here with us now.
Yeah, I'm always glad to see Maurice. Great support of all of our stuff. Fishing with the Squirrel. I think he said Creole.
Yep. Annette Morgan.
There's Cindy, my lovely wife.
Yes, hey, Miss Cindy. Oh, yeah, it says on about there about not being able to come to Mendota. I don't get a chance to try her wonderful, wonderful cinnamon rolls, cinnamon buns rolls everybody talks about.
We got a story about that. She hasn't made any, but once, I think, since last year when we went to Mendota. According to the doctor, I don't need any more, so I think that she might take some up there, but she's not just making them with free will.
Yeah, I'll say
but that's
Central
okay,
Valley.
you know.
Yeah, V3 Central Valley's come in here with us. Thank y'all, everybody, for coming in. So, Lyle, the kind of how I want to start this out.
Pollywogs, he says.
Oh, yeah, that's what he was calling them, pollywogs. I want to start out at the bottom.
Okay.
We got to catch bait. And unless you're going to use nothing but chicken or livers or go out in your yard and dig up worms or buy you some worms, most of us use live and cut baits.
I don't know where they're at, Cindy.
I think she's calling you a blind old rascal, ain't she?
I've been over here tying jigs.
Oh, I hear. Oh, you must be nearsighted, not farsighted.
I can't see nothing up close.
Oh, how the heck? You was using them tie jigs.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've all used little red worms and crickets and stuff like that, catching our brim and catching using minnows to catch our crappie. But sometimes when the crappie's on fire or the brim's on fire, it's hard to stop and take time to put another worm or another cricket or another minnow on your bait when they make artificials. And we can really rely on Fat Boy Eric in here tonight with us. So we can really, the rubber jigs and jigs have come so far since the early days.
That's
that it's crazy. And they can just about mimic anything that swims, floats, flutters, or whatever on the water. And y'all guys have been watching y'all tie those jigs and stuff like that, and I'm still waiting on my black and blue jigs, Lyle.
Okay.
But one of the jigs that I've relied on for so long it's called a little, guys from the Carolinas, I know y'all will recognize it. It's a little black flick tail, and I throw it on a 64th lead head. And it's just got a little bitty flick tail on it. And this jig has caught anywhere from little tiny bluegill, brim, or whatever you want to call them, all the way up to a 16-pound channel cat. And I've caught some pretty good sized largemouth on it too, Lyle, and not expecting it.
Right.
And I always wondered, especially when I caught that catfish, I thought, did the catfish bite the jig head, or did the catfish try to eat the brim that was trying to eat the jig? And that's a question we'll never be able to answer, you know, unless the brim has it in his mouth and the catfish has the brim in his mouth. But either way, it was still caught. So don't ever underestimate the power and the catching ability of small jigs for bait. I rely a lot on a little jig, but if you go out and you see them surfacing and popping bugs on the surface, that's where them little old crickets work good. But also, I keep forgetting, also tiny little poppers, topwater poppers. Now, they're hard to get out there casting with a rod and reel unless you got one of those little bitty tiny micro lights and you're throwing 2-pound, 1-pound, 2-pound line. But tell you a little trick I use. What's up, Palmetto? And what's up, Lance? A little trick I use is you go to Walmart and buy you a cheap spool of fly rod line. And I'll tie me maybe a foot, 6 inches to a foot of fly line, and then my little leader for my poppers. and then tied to the top of the fly line. Reason being is that fly line's got a little bit of weight and it floats. So you are able to take these little light poppers and get them casted a little bit further and maybe out there into where they're schooling up and popping the bugs. Some other little jigs that I use for, especially for palm, bluegill, and brim and bass, because y'all know I love using bass or ditch pickles or whatever.
That's right.
Is these little tiny frogs. Lyle, you ever seen any of these little rubber frogs?
Yes, sir, I have.
Son, you can catch some big old bluegill on these old rascals, man.
You bet.
Little ones will grab it too.
Loves frogs.
They have a trouble getting it in. And another little black, and you know, guys, I like using black jigs, is this right here. It's a tiny looking fluke. And it's a guy in the Carolinas that makes these. And it looks something like what James Dockery posted up the other day, those jigs that he was showing. So it's something like
Dockery. You can't trust anything Dockery says.
But I also carry in there, Lyle, to catch those green ditch pickles, is this big popper.
Yeah.
That big popper right there, son. And them big bluegill will grab it too.
Oh, yeah.
But some that I make myself, and you can get them at Walmart or any of those little old toy places, is these right here, Lyle. Little rubber spiders.
Yep.
I'll take you, put just a little bitty brass hook in it, and that thing right there will float right on the surface of the water. And if a bluegill and other stuff won't eat that, then you might as well go back home. Ain't nothing going to eat it.
They are in every pond. Every piece of water that you're ever on's got a spider on it.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, it's and a lot of times, even when they're not surface feeding, a lot of times they're still floating around right underneath the surface, looking up, just waiting on something to hit the water.
That's correct.
And yes, crawfish, and that's what I was getting ready to say next, Creole, and Lyle can probably back me up and give me some more insight on that. Your waters that you fish will dictate what is some of the best baits to use. Whether you're brim fishing all the way up to catfish and striper, your waters will dictate a lot of what to use and when to use it.
I got some stuff that'll go along with what you're saying, James.
All righty.
Here's some little poppers that I tied up.
Oh, I hear you.
You can use them on a fly rod, or you can use them on a regular one. You can't throw them very far if you use them on an ultralight or something. But you just sit out there and let it hit the top of the water and twitch it. It's called a gurgler, and it'll just pop water just like a hula popper or a jitterbug. It just push water out to the side, make a little noise. They work really well. This time of the year, I have some specialty stuff, and we're going to be coming out with some spring edition jigs and then summer edition, because as the seasons change, so should your collection of what you're using.
Yes.
Now, these are some of my favorites for springtime.
Oh, that looks good.
Got them little things on the back of it. They just jerk around. I can't find my hemostats right now, so I don't know. It's not like I ain't got 4 or 5 pair. But those work really well. Them legs just keep moving all the time in the water. And I got them in white and red also. They're amazing.
Yes.
And then I've got 2 other jigs that we started putting out here a while back, and everybody seems to like them really well.
Palmetto, you recognize that one? Oh, I hear you.
That ought to be killer.
Yeah.
Everybody seems to like it so far. I'm sure it works
tie any with chartreuse in it?
No, it's called bubblegum. It's blue and pink with a purple head.
Right. I mean, you ever tie any with the chartreuse colors?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, remember, I got a green screen, so what's green will probably look gray.
Yeah.
But that one there, with It's got a bluegill colored body. It's
Yep.
blue. It's a blue inside a green, and that baby with that orange on the front and back is a monster getter.
Now, is that a
Well,
lead head on that, or is that
yes,
a okay?
yes, it's a powder coated orange fluorescent head,
Right. I see
and
Chrissy
those
Brown, Mike Irvin, Wampus Cat, David Smith, Cody Robinson. Didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to give them a
no
shout
problem.
right
Those
quick.
are be my favorites this year.
So, so is that some of your favorite colors? Is the more natural colors, or do you have any that's
Now, if the water's stained or something, I'm going to want something a little darker.
right?
But right now, this is what's happening from the people that get jigs for me.
Right.
This is what they're wanting mainly right now. And like I say, these ones with them tails on the back of them, that's a new deal, and they're hot right now. Can't hardly build them fast enough, but that's good. That's
Right.
if that's the case, they're working.
Right.
And I've got them in every color imaginable, and I'll be posting some pictures up on them here in the next day or two.
Right.
But they're working really well.
You see, to me, that one jig I held up, where's it at? To me, that resembles a tadpole.
That's exactly right.
And when the frogs are really producing and the tadpoles and stuff are out, that's what I try to remember that old saying that a lot of fly fishermen use is match the hatch.
Yep.
And you would be surprised at the size of food that fish actually do eat a lot of. Just because they're big fish don't mean they're actually grabbing big baits. They might be up there on that bank and loading their belly down full of daggum frog eggs or frog tadpoles or fish eggs. I mean,
that's right.
Fish are, guys and gals, fish are not like humans.
No.
We eat for pleasure. We eat because we're hungry. We eat because it just looks good.
It smells good.
It smells good. But a fish eats to survive.
Yep.
And
they're opportunist.
Yes, that was the word I was looking for. I was scared I wouldn't spit it out right. There's Dale Haysup in Clearview Outdoors.
I have a question here. Jose's Fishing Adventures wants to know how I fish those. My favorite way to fish those jigs is under a float. And just let the current waves of the boats or waves of the wind, they'll sit there and work them up and down for you. It's very simple. And I like to tip them with either crappie nibbles or a piece of nightcrawler or redworm. And you can, if they're in there, you can have your way with bluegill and rockfish and all kinds of panfish species.
Yeah. And I can't believe I didn't have nothing in my tackle pack. Lyle, we always use, especially when our lake had a lot of white bass in it, was the clear casting bobbers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, ones I'm talking about. They got a thick, clear bottom, and the whole thing's clear, and it's kind of it's shaped something like a demon dragon, except the bottom of it's rounded and weighted. So you can cast it a long ways, but it's clear. And we use them a lot pulling tubes or not flick tails, but curly tails behind a long leader. When the fish are really busting the surface or chasing shad to the surface. And that works good. And them casting bobbers, man, you can throw them a country mile.
Yep. I use two kinds of slip floats.
Right.
One of them is called a rod and bob. They're pretty pricey, but you can hook them up 3 different ways. And I like that aspect to them. But the one that I use the most are just the ones with the springs on them you get at Walmart.
Yeah.
I get the purple ones because that's the color Cindy likes. And I use the chartreuse and orange ones and just run them up through there onto a bobber stop. Set your bobber stop 2, 4, 5 feet, however far down you want it. Cast them out there, and then your jig will go down wherever the float hits the bobber stop, and that's where you fish. And if you're not catching them, try moving that up and down. Works great for me. But I do like them rod and bobs, but they're pretty pricey. But the thing about them is, James, they break just like any of the rest of them little balsa floats, So you just have to be careful with them. But I got a lot of floats, and hopefully we'll get to take some grandkids out this year. So every time I go buy some and they got them, I grab a handful of them. They're not very expensive, and that way you always got plenty.
I had an old buddy that I used to fish with a lot, and I hadn't seen him in years. He was well, to say it nicely, he snuck into a lot of ponds and
Okay.
places that maybe he wasn't allowed to fish. But the floats that they used was he'd cut the end off a broom and put a little eyelet in it simply because, and then he'd paint it where he could see it, but you could throw them a country mile.
Yeah.
And they was able to cover so much water, especially in a farm pond or something. He could probably cover half the pond by using something that way. There we come back to the word tool. He figured out what tool he needed to cover that type of water, whether it was bass fishing, crappie fishing, brim fishing. He figured out that he could throw that thing a country mile and cover a lot more water than using just a standard float that you would buy that wouldn't have that kind of weight.
I have a tip for guys that are going out this time of the year and trying to catch brim type fish for bait.
Right.
Find the weed line and
Yep.
fish the outside of the weed line. As
Yep.
close to it as you can get without getting hung up. And I promise you, you're in for a great day.
Yes. Yeah, they'll tell you. I mean, you can go on. You could, even if they're not suffering. Yes, and I mean split shots are. A lot of people don't even have split shots in their tackle pack, but a split shot can come in handy, real handy, for different things. There's Justin Fishing Fetish in there.
I have every size that they make, I believe, and I make my own sinkers, but I don't make split shots. I know you can buy molds for them. They're just too tiny for me to fool with, but I keep in my tackle box of panfish stuff. There's every imaginable size of split shots in there.
Right.
You never know when you need just a little more.
Yeah, just a little more. I mean, you know, when the fish are hitting on the surface and you popping them, catching them in little old poppers or whatever, and all of a sudden they're no longer feeding on the surface, you think they're done gone away. A lot of times something's done swam in at a lower below the surface, and they start feeding on that.
That's right.
So a little tiny split shot to get your bait down underneath that surface might be all you need to change your whole day.
That's correct. I see Abbott has said the lake that he fished for bait does not have a weed line. Well, they don't. There's some type of structure, trees down, structure for crappie or something, and them panfish will be in that structure. They are very structure oriented.
Well, they have to protect themselves. I mean, out in open water, they ain't nothing but fair game.
Right. John Patrick says he likes the BB the best, and that's very popular with me also.
Right. Let's see. Whisker Dreams is in the house. Catfish Day. Who else? I seen somebody else. Just real
Me
gals.
too, but she went away, and it was Real Gals Fish the Mississippi.
Yep. There you go. So, and another one I know everybody has heard is the Sapiki rigs, and that light's too bright.
I use those for catching skipjack herring.
Yeah. And the ones I like, these are some, you can't see it too, it's whiting out. It's got, it's actually fish skin that makes that on the bottom part of it. But the ones I enjoy, looks like you can't see it. Ah, dang, it's going to white out. Of course it's going to white out. They look like they got little tiny shrimp on them.
Right.
And when those fish are chasing bigger baits, I will go to something like that and maybe get them fired up and only have to put one little piece of worm or one little piece of cut bait on there to get those things fired up. And then the rest of the time, you don't have to put nothing on those hooks because it looks like it's got something on there.
That's right.
And once they go into a feeding frenzy, they about hit
it's
a fire
on.
hook.
That's right. I don't know if you announced these or not, but I see that Joe Newman is joined us, and David Smith and Chrissy Brown, Whiskers and Dreams. And I think that you mentioned it, but I'm not sure Clearview Outdoors is in here too.
I'll mention Mr. Clearview for
Just
lack
want to
of
make sure we
daggone.
get everybody.
Yes.
It is so wonderful that all these people watch all of our shows. So
Yeah.
if I see them in there, James, I'm relying on these younger guys to help me with that these days. Mark and Chad and
Yeah.
you and
Yeah. Well, I ain't much younger, but a little bit. Depends on what day it is.
that's exactly right. But if I'm
Uh,
fishing that day, I don't need any help. But
well, we might. I ain't gonna say that because you know how that goes.
oh man, I do.
And I'm gonna throw out a little something that a lot of people don't think about, and that's stuff that you carry in your tackle pack that really has nothing to do with fishing.
I
One
got
of the things
something
I
new.
carry in my tackle pack is a glue stick, a hot glue stick.
Yep.
It will surprise you at the opportunity, the times that you go say, "Oh, dang, I wish there was some way I could glue that back together," or I might be able to seal a hole up, or whatever. That comes in handy a lot more times than you think.
That's right. Thank you, Evan.
And it's just little stuff like I carry super glue with me, a bottle of super glue, and it ain't. There's trophy seekers outdoors, and it's not for gluing jigs back together because most of the time, super glue is great if you're pulling it apart. But if you're going to pull it sideways or something like that, usually it cracks pretty quick. The reason I carry it, there's Miss Pontoon Jody, the weekend angler. The reason I carry it, Lyle, is that I used to do a lot of walking and fishing banks in some very out of the way places. And most of the time I was by myself. What happens if you do like Steve Douglas did and cut your leg wide open with a knife and you're out in the middle of nowhere?
You need that super glue. Hey, there's
And
Paula
Miss
Smith.
Paula,
Welcome,
you
Paula.
can.
Hope you're feeling well.
I know that super glue might be a little bit poisonous to the system, but your system can deal with a little bit of poison a lot better than it can be than bleeding out.
I'll take my chances with the super glue.
You daggum right. And a lot of times, as fast as super glue does, a lot of times it'll glue shut during the bleed or
Yep.
whatever. At
Mm-hmm.
least might get you out and get help. You'll be able to get help.
Now, James, Cindy keeps a first aid kit with her in the truck, one in the
Yep.
boat, and she's fixed everybody from me to Doc Lang one time or another. She's patched us all up that's ever been in the boat pretty much. Somebody got hurt, cut, bruised, banged up. You know, she's pulled shit out of my eyes that never should have been close to my eyes when I worked in the
Right.
garages. You
Oh,
know,
God.
and
Yeah.
just she's just Dr. Cindy. That's it.
Yep. Weekend Angler said, I can speak from experience, James. I cut myself with an electric fillet knife one
Ooh.
evening and had Christina super glue it shut. No trip to the doctor was required. There
Tough
you
guy
go.
right there.
And I mean, and guys and gals, and it's pretty cheap. You can go to any of your pharmacy probably and find what they call stereo strips. And that's basically what if you have surgery, I'm sure you've had stereo strips on you.
I have.
And you got to get them off within about 7 to 10 days. If you don't, your daggone skin will start growing around them. But anyway, that's still stuff that is a tool that you keep with you in your tackle pack. Keep it in a Ziploc bag. You keep it watertight. You don't want water and moisture getting in there and causing mold and other stuff like that to get in there on you.
Yep.
So tools. Another tool that I carry that I got this from the wife is what they call paramedic shears. And paramedic shears got a little bit of a serrated edge on there. You can cut anything from fishing line. It will actually cut braided line and regular mono, and it'll cut wire. Them things will cut a nickel in half, Lyle.
Holy crap! I need some of them bad boys.
And they will cut. I haven't tried to cut a hook in half because I don't want to put a bad edge on these. These are pretty new, so
Yeah.
but it might be able to cut the eye off a hook. enough for you to pull that hook back through your skin instead of trying to fight that barb out of your skin.
I've had them in where you couldn't pull them out and you had to go through the barb. And the trick that Jimmy Houston showed so many times in his videos where you
Yeah.
tie that braid around there and push the eye of it down.
Yeah.
And jerk. If you'll do that, it will work. I've pulled these everything from little jigs to catfish size hooks out of me that way by myself. It's a lot easier if you have some help, but you can do it by yourself depending on where the hook's at. That works really well. But my son had one in him one time, and we had to cut the barb off, and he just pulled it right back. It was in his meat of his hand. And I said, we can take you to the doctor. We can cut her out. He said, Dad, I want to go fishing, whack her off. I took a pair of side cutters, snipped the barb off. He grabbed her like that, grabbed his rod, to the water he went. He didn't fool around none.
Yeah,
that was a long time ago.
Yeah, Morello said EMT shears Amazon 2 for $10. There you go, guys.
Sounds cheap enough to me. Thanks, Michael.
Yeah, and you're right. But I had a buddy of mine, it buried up into his dadgum hand all the way, and it actually, the point of the hook buried into the bone just a little bit, and there wasn't no getting it out. He had to go have it surgically removed. There's Ken Kinnemer. What's going on, Ken? I spent part of the day with your buddy yesterday, Mr. Tracy, and I enjoyed that from lightning bugs.
David Smith says, just make sure that it comes out on the first jerk. David, you are right about that. It's got to come out that first time. You got to hit it hard enough that it's coming out. Because you ain't going to stand there and do it twice.
No, it's hard to hurt yourself 2 times.
You know, though, if you get that push down where that barb doesn't grab the meat, you don't even hardly feel it.
Yeah.
It's really pretty painless. But if you don't,
but
you ain't gonna like it.
Some of these new catfish hooks has got a barb big enough to hook into a cow.
I'm telling you.
I believe
I don't know how bait ever get off of them.
Going on to the hospital and have them to cut it out.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think they just dead it and push it on through, don't they?
Well, yeah, cut it off if they can. If they don't, they got to lance you open and get it out of there. Because some of them big old barbs, they going to pull a chunk of meat out with it, son. Make you feel bad for the old catfish.
No, not really.
Oh, there's Mr. Muskrat's in the house with us tonight.
Hey, Roger.
But guys, and a good sharp knife. I always carry a good sharp knife. And, well, where'd it go? That about fell over on my head. Knife sharpener. That's the quickest, fastest way to put an edge on a knife. There's Jeff Baker's in the house. You can zoom your knife right through that little old edge and have you a good sharp edge to fillet your fish, cut stuff, whatever you need to do. Make sure you carry a good. Of course, I don't leave home without a pocket knife on me.
Well, James, I would like to touch on that for just a second.
Yes,
and
sir.
I know you and I have talked about this before. But if you are on a river in a boat and you're using anchors, especially if you use on both ends, but if you have one out the front and you're in current and for some reason it gets stuck and the current keeps coming and you can't get it undone, have a knife available front and rear to cut that anchor rope. Don't be silly and think, well, I'll get it up. When the stern of that boat starts going down, it's time to give up the ghost and get rid of that anchor and save your life, because it'll take the front of that boat down and start taking water. Next thing you know, you're in it.
And if you on a river, Lyle, and all it takes is one of those big submerged trees with a root ball still attached to the end of it, and if it grabs that daggum anchor rope, you better be able to get rid of it quick.
That's right. And a lot of times you can't see. There's a lot of that tree that's under the water that you'll never see.
Right. And you might think it's going to clear you till all of a sudden the nose of your boat starts going under. Ask Mr. Wampus Cat about that. They got caught up there, and it was pulling the nose of his pontoon boat down.
Oh, that's a lot. I had one pull the front of that monster cat down with Doc Lang in the boat. We ended up cutting a 5/8 braided rope of his with my anchor on it.
Dang right.
Yeah.
But an anchor and the rope's a lot cheaper than a life.
Oh, yeah.
That's why Creole said that's why he puts the zigzag cleats. Rope can be pulled under full tension. Huh. Never thought about that. So even I guess it only releases once you hit that last little hoop. I mean that last little old zigzag. I never even thought about that.
They'll
Outdoors
hold.
addiction. So yeah, guys, and I mean it don't hurt to carry like an extra rain suit in your boat. Just different things because you never know when you're gonna get caught in a bad situation. Everything is a tool. Everything is a tool.
I have some new tools.
Well, show us and tell us about them.
I have some ghost floats that arrived in the mail. They were supposed to have been here last Wednesday. They showed up this Monday, but I was so happy to get them. And we're going to use these for fishing for flatheads, and I'm going to drag them behind the boat fishing for blues in conjunction with planer boards this year. And I am really, really excited about that. And the lights in them are pretty cool.
Yep. Easy to use, easy to turn on.
Easy to hook up. You just unscrew them, screw the light bulb in, it comes on, you set it out there. But I'm planning on using those on Lake of the Ozarks and Truman this year, and we're going to be floating with them. We're going to be throwing them up in brush piles. Any way I can use to abuse them to find out how tough they are, that's what we're going to do. So
take them up there to Mendota and catch some channel cats on them.
Oh, yeah, they're golden with me.
That would be. And somebody please film that because I want to see some good films of some big channel cats grabbing those rascals.
I hope I get my 30-pounder this year up there, and I hope I catch it on one of them floats. I'm so excited about that. And I have heard nothing but good about these pink bobbers. And James, I don't care what color they are. If they work, that's what I want to use. But we're taking those, every one of them we got, and we're only allowed, I think it's 3 rods per person up there. So Cindy and I will have them on there, and we're going to be fishing them floats in 2 and 3, 4 foot of water for them giant channel cats. And I can't wait. These things we'll be filming. We'll be going live, and I'll be filming for videos and stuff. So it ought to be an exciting time. And they got here just in time. I was thinking maybe they got lost, and evidently they got hung up somewhere out in your neck of the woods, but they got here, and I was really excited. I kept going out to meet the post lady in her truck out in the driveway because I was thinking I was never going to get them, but we're going to put them to use. We're going to try them here, and we're going to use them here, but that Mendota trip, we're really going to put to use to them.
Now, since we're on that subject of floats, and guys and gals, I'm not pushing my floats. I promise you, I'm pushing you to use a float, period. Whatever you choose to use to float baits, please don't underestimate the power of suspending baits, the power of the natural presentation that a float allows you to have. Junior Proctor's way of dragging baits with using the floats in between his planer boards is something I would have never thought about doing, Lyle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I guess we all still got that stigma of the little red and white floats out brim fishing.
Yep.
And it's just another tool. So how do you plan on fishing them up there in Mendota?
I plan on fishing them with a bobber stop behind there and floating them up to the bobber stop because we're only going to be in very shallow water.
Right.
And all I'm trying to do is keep the bait just up off the bottom because the fish I'm going to be fishing for are going in that shallow water to spawn.
Right.
And I want to aggravate them till either they bite them because they're hungry or they're just so pissed off they can't stand to be around them. Whichever one works. Now,
are you going to be using probably like a Carolina rig?
Yes.
And
actually, I've devised a new type thing that comes from my bumping. Hagen Grubb told me one time if he wanted to was going to come on our show as soon as he got everything straightened out where him and Landon could come on there and do that. And I told him, he was asking me about my bumping rig. Well, I said, I'll show you that bumping rig when you come on the show, and then everybody will know what it's like. But this is what I designed for Channel Cat. It's like a drop shot rig,
Right.
but it's got a twist to it, and the twist is in this knot right here.
Yep.
Those guys, I used to snell them right onto the line, and I never had problem missing fish. And everybody got to saying, "Oh, you got to use dropper loop." Dropper loops are the most worthless thing that you can put on if you're in heavy current, because all they do is wrap around the line.
Yep.
Like a helicopter, and you ain't got nothing. They go to get the bait, you might as well have them snelled right on the line. So that's why I come up with this design. I haven't tried it yet. I'm going to be using this rig a lot up in Mendota. I'm excited about that, but we'll probably have it out at the lake here in a few days. James, I'm going to have 70-degree weather almost all next week, so
I hear you.
Going to the lake.
It's a coming.
It is.
Junior Warskow's in. He said planer board clips was the game changer with the floats. They work.
Absolutely. I can see it, man. I really can.
And I love feedback like that from anybody that buys my product. And I'm sure you do too, about your jigs and stuff.
Absolutely,
and your stuff, Lyle. It feels good to know that something that we produce actually produces for y'all.
And works. That was the thing. Works. I had several guys tell me about them. Just what we was talking earlier about the jigs and how they work for them this year. Well, them's the colors that I want people to know about. It's actually working. Yes. So I've got some new images to get up. I need to put up on my page, and we'll be putting these new jigs up that we've designed. And some of these are stuff that other people come out with years ago, and I've redone them to put a twist on them like I like them. And some are ones that I just come up with. And I might tie jigs for 5 or 6 hours at night till I get them one like I want it. And then I'll make them all like that, throw the rest of them away, or, cut off the jig. But they got to be like I want them, and I want people to be happy with them. And if I'm not happy with them, probably nobody else is going to be.
There's Mr. Josh in the house tonight, Mr. Running Late Fishing. Glad you're doing all right. You remember last year, Lyle, at the tournament, he blowed the motor on his boat.
I know.
that broke my heart for the old boy, but he said he's up and running and ready to roll now.
I'm really bumming about the fact that gas is $9,000 a gallon and I can't come out there this year. You know what I mean? I had so much fun out there. I know it was a long trip, and but we had a blast. We really did. It was a ton of fun, and we really want to come back out there this year. But at near $4 a gallon for gas, it's just hard to go that far. And I can't come out there and fish with you again, James, without bringing a boat. I just can't do it. And there was a lot of people that offered us rides on their boat, but it's not like doing it yourself. Cindy and I fished together all these years and all the tournaments and stuff, and that's how we want to do it. And when I come back out there, I'm bringing a boat, and we're probably gonna spend a week or so out there messing around, like Chad plans on doing this year. Good for him.
Oh God, yeah. And I mean, there's so much to do around the Carolinas. I mean, I'd love to take you out here because I know some of the things we've talked about over the years on the phone. I'd love to take you out here to the Battle of Kings Mountain area.
Oh, me too, yeah.
And sit down and watch the film and stuff, the reenactments and stuff like that. I believe you would really enjoy that. But I want to give a set of floats away tonight, Mr. Lyle.
Absolutely.
And but you got to give me the proper name and number of what I'm getting ready to show you in order to get it.
Junior Washkow says the Cats tournament Saturday morning on Lake Wiley.
NC Cats, yep. I hear you. Yeah, these the bite is on. The bite is on, guys and gals. All right, y'all ready for a set of floats? It's this little thing I carry in my toolbox, my tackle box, toolbox, whatever.
I know.
It folds up. It unfolds. You can actually carry it in your wallet. Give me the proper name and number to it. And it's probably somebody from the military that'll give it first. Yep. The first Creole got it.
Creole.
All right, Creole, we gonna set you up. There's Mike Irvin. There's P98 can opener with your dreams.
See, I didn't know what the number was, but I knew what it was.
I knew, if you remember, Lyle, the Bugs Bunny that had the alien on there, the P238.
Yep.
There you go. You
That's
just take
cool.
the 2 off of it. Yep. All right, Creole. Just send me a messenger and your address again, buddy, and we'll get you set up. Appreciate that, guys. That was fun.
James, I have a new style of decal
Yes, sir.
that Katie made for me.
Oh, that's cool.
Now, they have to be trimmed out a little bit. I'm not saying they're perfect. They have to be trimmed out a little bit. But I got a pair of these. When you want to give them away, we'll give them away.
All righty.
Whenever it's good for you,
Well,
somebody will surely enjoy them. I get asked about them a lot.
I haven't got it set up like y'all do with the wheel, Lyle. So what I'll do, if y'all trust me, I'm going to close my eyes and I'm going to scan down through the names and roll my wheel back and forth. And where it stops, I put my fingers who's going to win it, Lyle.
That works for me. There's JBT.
That would be Mr. Justin Fishing Fetish.
Sweet. All Justin has to do is send me his address. He can message it on Messenger or email me, either one. You can email me at catfishweeklytv@gmail.com or just message me on Messenger. And I know you're going to give them to Gabby. I know you are.
Yeah. That was fun. All right, wait a minute. We got to do one. We got a couple more in here. I've been trying to support everybody. Almost last but not least is the hat that I keep this and put up, Lyle, because it was one special from Mark. It had got the flag on there.
I have mine in a plastic bag sitting up there.
Yeah, so I broke it out for tonight. I've been switching up hats for everybody that had sent me a hat. I got another one here. If I get through it in time, I don't know if we will. The Catawba Backwoods.
I'm not sure how big of a rush you are to get it done with stuff, but I'm not. I got some more stuff to talk about.
Oh, let's talk. All right, you know me. I don't rush nothing.
If anybody ever seen one of these, it's called a peewee. It has a piece on the end of it and a piece of metal on the other end. And what this is for is reaching down with one that's deep hooked to get the hook out. Yep. They work exceptionally well. I use them for panfish, but this metal piece is big enough on the other end that you could get a hold of them with big hooks, and you can apply the pressure to them if you get one that's deep hooked. To save you, if you're not planning on harvesting the fish, it will help you get them out and save them really well. There you go.
They've been out for years. The little old plastic one, that's for the bigger hooks, and that's for the smaller hooks.
Yep. And I have a few other things in here, James. This was first got to me through Joey Kirby. They called it a Kirby rig.
Yep.
Whoop. And actually, it's come from the saltwater world.
Yep.
And you hook your main line to this and your leader line to this, and you need to put a swivel on this end of it going to your leader line. And it makes a lot of noise in the water.
I got one just like it.
Yeah, that floats your bait up. So I wouldn't want to use a real long leader with it, but I'm going to be using these a little bit and trying them out this year. I'm kind of excited about that. Cindy won a pack of tackle on Rebecca Mudtramp's giveaway.
Right.
And it come from Uncle Lou's Tackle, and I've known Lee Reed for years and years. He's a super nice guy, and this damn thing, James, was jam-packed full of cool stuff.
Oh, I hear you.
Really cool stuff. Now, a few years ago, somebody come out with speed clips. And if you see these, everybody, I'm sure, has seen them. Yes. They work really well for hooking lines and lures and different things up to keep them from coming off. They come in different poundage and different size, and man, they work really well.
Yes.
Well, the ones that Lee Reed from Uncle Lou sent, he called it something else. And it looks like this.
Oh, I like that.
And the end of it, if I quit dropping it, the end of it looks like this. So you put your line or whatever on one end, and it goes down here in this hook, and the other piece would go in and hold these two pieces together so it can never come apart.
Gotcha.
They're just a touch bigger than the speed clips, but they look a lot stronger and really easy to use. So I'm excited about testing those out for Lee this year. I think they're going to work really well. It'll look as if you can see right through his ears. Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, I was getting ready to shout him out. I seen him come in.
Outdoors. So glad you joined us tonight. Now, I can't, for some reason, find them. I don't know where they're at. I ordered some from Lee the other day, but these are little crane swivels. Everybody's seen them.
Yep.
They make one that has another swivel made onto it, and it sticks out like this.
Yes.
For Carolina rigging and bumping with a float, that's the berries, boys. I'm telling you. You get your weight coming off of it. It goes straight through the weight to one end, and your bait off of that one that swivels around the other part of it. That is a essential tool. You can use three-way rigs, three-way swivels, but they won't work as good as that. I promise you. Those are the neatest things for that. And chain swivels. If you're having line twist on your bait for bumping in heavy current, even if you're just Carolina rig, put you a chain swivel in there. It may not stop it 100%, but it'll help you a whole bunch.
And when
You'll be happy you did that.
I'm sure when it comes to river current or dragging baits, baits ain't quite as bad as the river current because usually you're not dragging as fast as some of those waters are.
Hell, here I said I couldn't find one. I threw one on the floor. There's what they look like.
There you go.
Them are your friend. They really are.
I'm going to make sure I put some of them in my toolbox.
Yeah, you can get those from Lee Reed at what the hell was it? I forgot the name of the store. The brain did.
Don't I can't remember nothing.
Uncle Lou's.
Oh, yeah, Uncle Lou's.
I can't believe I forgot, but they work really well. And then I've got some baits like these are lead weights. They're painted. These are rigs, and they've got hooks on them and swivels on both ends. And I think those will work really well. I haven't tried these yet, but I'm looking forward to trying these later on in the year.
Yeah. And guys and gals, you know, when I first got into it, I was seeing so many different things about people showing you how to make this dragging weight, that dragging weight. And the only one that I knew for sure that was around was the drifting sticks. And everybody's heard from drifting sticks. But guys and gals, you can make these yourself. I mean, these right here I made a long time ago. Now, to me, they're a little bit too soft. I think I lost quite a few of them. Maybe they flicked around the limb and maybe done that right there around the limb or something. But all this is like surgical tubing. And actually, I made these out of them old hose pipes, them old collapsible hose pipes that they sell on TV. My mother-in-law used to go through one a year because she'd buy them, and I'd tell her don't buy that junk. But inside them hoses are surgical tubing. And all I done was glue in a daggone wire nut and a little eyelet to make you swivel, and then fill it full of BB shot or lead shot. I use lead shot, BB shot. Nah, it's hard to find true copper BBs anymore.
Yeah. Being an old trap shooter, I've got plenty of lead shot, and I just fill it up with number 8 shot. And number 8's smaller, but once you get it filled, it weighs a lot more.
And actually, in the bottom of this, what is that, a 223?
Yeah.
A 223 shell. And it'll actually rattle. So you can make them yourself. This was some that a guy sent me that is made out of shrink tubing. And he's got some of that lead wire in it, like Keith from fishing and stuff used. That lead wire, that's what it's got in it. And it's got some kind of floating stuff in there so it stands upright. But it's just another tool, guys. that
I got some cool weights that I didn't bring one in here from Josh, the weekend angler. He has a thing on eBay, eBay
right,
store called Bonehead's Tackle, and he's got hooks and slinky weights. They're really cool. I used some of them on Baldwin Lake. Was very impressed with them. So go if you get a chance, go check out Josh's eBay store and get some them hooks. Them 7/0 circle hooks that I used over there for them small blues, they're amazingly sharp. They really are. I really like them. So he's got some other stuff in there. You need to check him out. And these are another thing that I like. I just got some of these. Somebody sent these to me last year. This one is a 3 ounce. Uh, these work really well. They don't get hung up bad at all. And they're short. So um, I like that. Now, if I'm in heavy brush or root balls or anything like that, I want the
right,
long ones because they'll have a little curve to them and you can drag them
yeah,
over top of stuff when I'm dragging or bumping. And I've got some of mine that I made when Larry Muse first told me about them on Catfish Weekly, 10 years ago, probably close to it. He brought them out. Nobody had ever heard of anything. Several people was working on something like that or similar to that, but Larry was the first one to bring it to the public. And then after that, Steve Douglas done an interview with him down at Memphis. But he told us about those, and I made a bunch of them. And some of mine are 2 and 3 foot long. If you're going over timber that's down in the river system, the length will help you get over that. And like you, I got pieces of pine dowels and put Gorilla Glue on them and shoved them up inside of milking hose that you buy at a hardware store or something,
yeah,
Farm and Home Supply. And then I'd screw eyelets in one end of them
yep,
and fill them up with lead shot. And you can make them 1 ounce, 2 ounce, 5 ounce. I seen some that Doc Lang made one time that was out of water hose. They was short and fat and full of
yeah,
lead. Those work really well. Depends on what kind of water you're fishing, what kind of structure you're up against, if you're on a ledge, if you're in brush. But I will promise you, if you're in a lot of wood
yep,
and you're going over them limbs, the longer, the better.
yeah, yeah. Chad said the new North Carolina state record blue got caught today, 127.1. Where at, Chad?
That's nice.
Probably up there at Kerr or one of them right there bordering Virginia, North Carolina, and all up in that area. But it wouldn't surprise me if some of these other lakes are really turning out. I got a feeling that Lake Wiley's getting ready to cough up a state record flathead.
I know
That lake is really turning into a flathead hole.
Jason Mathena had took a guy out over the weekend. They caught a 98 right there above St. Louis.
He said it doesn't say. I'll find out where it's at. And there's some other stuff, Lyle, that has come into the catfish world. The demon dragon was one of the things that amazed me that I had used for years bass fishing and never even thought about using it for catfishing like that as far as the Santee rig. This is some that I gave away at last year's tournament that would come from Dragon Shads.
Yeah, I love them.
Carl, he contacted him and they painted them up just for the tournament, and it's the red, white, and blue ones, and they're pretty loud. And you notice these are the ones when Dieter first come out and showed everybody you could order the blank.
Dieter the chicken man,
and they all right. You have to paint them or they leak and they fill full of water.
They do.
Work, but you see what color I painted it, guys and gals.
That's exactly right.
And muddy water, black, cast a shadow. But Whisker Seekers it's something like the Kirby rig, but it's the black float, and it's that, what do you call that, Lyle? That real dense
EVA foam.
Yes.
EVA foam.
And when I first seen these, the first time I went to Catfish Conference, I grabbed them because one thing is because it's black, and I like black. Because in dingy water, guys, black cast a shadow. So actually, that makes that barber probably look that big 10 foot away from it if it's casting a shadow.
Chad just sent me the article of the gentleman that caught that 127.1 pound fish. His name was Rocky Baker. from Oaks, North Carolina. Thank you, Chad, for that information. It's a stud. It
I
really
don't
is.
recognize that name of the town or the city. There's so many, good well. There's so many cities. It's
Oh
hard to keep
yeah,
up with all of them. We got some funky little towns. And
that's a
another one,
giant.
Lyle, for those that might catch a record, you always got to have a scale.
You got to have a scale. If you don't have a scale and you can't weigh it, there's no way that you know if it's even reasonably close. Because it's a proven fact that if that it's. I'm not saying that using that formula isn't a way to do things. I'm telling you, the bigger the fish is, the further off that scale becomes. We've tested it, checked it, and had other people do it many times. And if you use it and check it with certified scales, the bigger the fish, the further off that formula becomes. But a big fish is a big fish. If you get one around or over 100 pounds, who
Yes.
gives a damn? It's
Yeah.
still over 100 pounds.
Well, yeah. And I mean, I also look at it if you might not know, but you might catch the world record white cat.
You don't know.
You don't know.
That's
And
right.
that catfish ain't that big. So if you say, well, that's a big catfish, I'll just throw it back. And then 2 days later, you find out that the white cat might not have been but 4 pounds, and you throw the 6-pounder back, you just throw back a world record.
I'll tell you something else. Flathead catfish have a huge friggin' head.
Yes.
And a 20 pounder looks like a 40 pound of anything else.
Right. Oh, yeah.
They're deceiving. And most flathead records are quite a bit smaller in weight wise than a blue cat record. So if you're in flathead water, be aware. If you catch a big flathead, be aware of what the record fish is. And I'm not telling you to keep that fish out of the water and do it bodily harm because all the big
Right.
fish needs to be returned to the water so they can pass that gene along. But
Right.
if you have a chance for a record and it weighs and it you think you got it, then get it to someplace and get it found out so you can get it back. But if you weigh it and you know that it's 10 pounds light, there's no sense. Just take your pictures and release it.
Yes. Yes. And I mean, a lot of people say, well, I don't even weigh fish. Well, if that fish is bumping close to records, you'd be a dumb tail not to.
Not to weigh it. That's exactly right.
You
Uh,
know,
I
I
see
mean,
Creel says he wanted to catch a state record bullhead. Did anybody happen to see the picture that Betty Jean Cross posted of that 2 or 3, 4 pound bullhead she caught out in South
oh, yeah.
Carolina over the weekend? It was a giant.
Yeah.
I've never caught a bullhead that size. Creel says his record is 97 pounds for flathead. Most places aren't that big. Most flathead records aren't that big.
All right. Now, I'm going to ask you a question, Lyle. The flathead weight is on records are not as much as the blue.
Right.
But, and this is just my beliefs, to me, a flathead is an old fish. That's a DNA that's been handed down that he has done got because he has done evolved to his eyes are on top of his head. He's got an extended lower jaw. He
Feeding up.
is a ultimate predator.
Yep.
He without teeth. I mean, they got them old things that'll tear the meat off your skin, but it's still not teeth.
That's right. They are the apex predator.
Do you think that maybe the flathead is actually the bigger of the catfish, but they just haven't been caught?
That could be. I don't know if there's any way to prove that or not.
Oh, I know.
I will tell you this. Our conservation department in Missouri is not in bed with any state entities, any federal entities. They are an entity all of their own. They do take regulations and stuff from the state and feds and work with them in conjunction. And I've worked with them hand in hand for years and years and years. They do studies on catfish, and the studies are usually 5 years long or longer. And when they're determining what type of regulations we need on what waters. They do a lot of shock treatments, and they'll shock these fish up so they can weigh them, measure them. The last time I was involved with this, they was doing a study, and they had shocked up several state and world records. Now we're talking about on the Missouri River and the Mississippi River, from where the Missouri comes in on the northwest side of the state to the conjunction of the Mississippi down above St. Louis, and on the Mississippi from the Iowa line to the last dam above St. Louis on the Mississippi. Several new state and world records. Now the world record's what, 143 something?
Yeah.
And they shocked up several new records. Not one, not two, not 10, whatever several is, I don't know.
Right.
But they released them. And you
Right.
can shock those fish, and they're perfectly fine as soon as you release them. In fact, when you touch them, if you try to net them or something, and you don't get them in there right, they're gone.
Yeah.
And they go. They don't hang around. You can't
No.
get them back up. I've been involved in some of that over the years. That's impressive to say
Yes.
that there's several new state and world records. Now, one of the reasons, this is kind of off subject here, so if you don't want to go into this, you just let me know.
Hey,
I-
let's roll with it.
My opinion is one of the reasons why there's not being more of them caught is on account of trot liners and for flatheads especially, but trot liners and commercial fishermen. Now, there is no commercial fishing allowed on the Missouri River. If they would pass that on the Mississippi River in the state of Missouri waters only, screw the rest of them, just in our waters.
Right.
I can't imagine the fish that we'd be catching in 5 years, because it took 10 years on the Missouri River. I don't ever remember big fish being caught in the Kansas City area when they done commercial fishing, because they was catching them all. They go up and down that river all year long. But when they was commercial fishing it, they didn't make it that far. Hardly ever caught anything very big up there. I mean, 50, 60s, the 70s, but no 100 pounds. They're catching them around 100 pounds all year long now, all up and down that Missouri River. Now, a lot of them fish come up from down south, and they winter in the Missouri River from the Mississippi. They just go up there through the confluence and go up there and winter. I can tell you right where a lot of them will winter, but I won't go down there, and I don't go down there fishing because I don't want people going down there and finding them and snagging them and pulling them out.
Right. There you go.
But
that's proof in the pudding.
Something to think about.
That's proof in the pudding that conservation works.
That's right.
I mean, that's it in a nutshell. Conservation works.
It sure does. But
I just had a brain fart because I was getting ready to go somewhere with that. Duh.
I was trying to see if I got anything else in here. Oh,
I was looking.
Here's the chain swivels I was telling you about when you were doing these.
We were talking about catfishing, the records. All right. Originally, Santee Cooper held, there it is. Santee Cooper held the world record originally. It was 109 pounds or 108.9 or something like that. And at the time, that fish was caught on hook and line. But pictures, fact, you can go down there to Santee Cooper, and there's pictures all over all those campgrounds at Black's, at Harry's, and all of them of fish that looked like they could have swallowed that fish, but it was caught on trot lines. So it was not able to be classified as a world record, but there was proof that those fish existed. You know, everybody talking about the Volkswagen catfish or whatever. They are proof that there are some big fish out there. And Lyle, sometimes it makes you wonder, are we even throwing big enough baits for some of those big fish?
James, I've told you how the size bait that I use when I fish that Mississippi River. People say, "Oh, you're lying. You don't use them." I'll use a head and a body section that big.
Yeah.
It ain't nothing but two hooks, one in the front, one in the back, and let's rather rip, boy. I mean,
you think about it, Lyle.
You're eating those size fish.
A 30-pound flathead would suck that down and pick his teeth with it.
15.
Yeah. I mean, they are a feeding machine
On your a note on what you was just talking about, there was a commercial fisherman that I visited with when we was at a tournament in Memphis, Tennessee. And he told me there are a lot of fish bigger than the world record caught down there every year in fishing nets, commercial fish. And the reason you don't hear about them because they don't want nobody knowing about them, so they have to listen to all the grief about it, and they just cut them up and sell them for steaks.
Yep, fillets and stuff
Several
like
a
that.
year.
Oh, I
World
wouldn't
record.
doubt it.
Yeah. Memphis is amazing fishery down in that area and below. Well, you can tell what by watching Creole fish down below there. I mean, it's a wonder. It's the Mississippi River. My God, it's the greatest fishery we have. Period. I mean, I've been all over. There's nothing compares to it. They're just not. And I'm not saying it's easy to fish. It takes some time to figure out everything. You've got to put your time in to learn it. But when you do, the reward is so great. It just is.
Agreed. Oh, I got a question. Lake Wiley. It is a great fishery from bluegill all the way up, especially the crappie, largemouth, and the flatheads and the blues are making a great run at it. Why do you think that? Well, one thing, the blues hadn't been in that water and flatheads hadn't been in that water an extremely long time.
Right.
What's up, Rod Knockers and Danny Stone? Do you think that? Why do you think there's not been 100-pound fish brought out of that water?
Well, even with great genetics, it takes time for those to pass those on and improve on those as years go by. Any animal of any kind, whether it be a fish or a deer or human being, as time goes on, years and years and years of breeding and growing and making things better. And I would bet there's probably close to 100 pounds if there's not 100-pound in there.
Right.
So many times people think they got the equipment for 100-pound fish, and really they don't. 100-pound fish is a lot of fish, buddy. I'm telling you right now.
And if he don't want to come off the bottom, you might think you hung.
Well, exactly right. And he'll just sit there, especially a flathead. And after a little while, you're going to get tired of that, and you're just going to break it off.
Yeah.
I know that happens sometimes. There's Mike Sampson and Danny Stone Outdoors, Matt with Wannabe Outdoors. They're still coming in.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I'm saying that Wiley has that potential where a lot of lakes maybe don't, Lyle, is simply because that lake was never stocked by South Carolina or North Carolina.
It's natural.
Stocked by the fishermen.
Okay.
That means there's Santee Cooper fish in there. That means there's the James River fish in there. There's Lake Norman. There are fish in there from waters that have had world record or state record fish caught in them. So these fish that were brought and released wasn't little fish. These were 40, 50, 60-pound fish released into that water. So
but they still have to mature.
Great DNA.
Yeah, they have to mature and pass that on. And it takes a few generations to get it up there. It just does.
Well, the reason I asked you that is because Jeff Manning, which I respect greatly, Dieter Melhorn, and a couple of other ones think that lake is topped out. That's going to be the average because we got tons of 20s and 30s in there.
I don't believe that. With the amount of bait fish that's in that river, I think that eventually you're going to get there.
I believe so too. Do you think that those 20s, because I mean, you can just about go out there any day and catch 20s and 30s or some, at least one.
Yeah.
Do you think that being a number of those fish in the water could hurt that potential?
If there's too many of them, but I can't imagine as big as Wiley is there being too many. Just my opinion. I mean, I'm not a biologist, but I just don't see it happen. Mark made a big statement here. The water quality has something to do with it too, but the genetics you got, it just takes a few generations for it. I think you'll get there. I really do.
Yeah, and I mean, truthfully, I'd rather keep it to ourselves because that lake's already getting busy as crap.
I'm going to tell you, James. I'm going to explain how that works. When people start posting pictures of big fish, they don't have to be 100-pound fish. No. If people post a lot of pictures of 20s, 30s, 40s, and a 50 once in a while, the more pictures that gets posted and people say, I got that on Lake Wiley. Well, here Joe's going to go down there next weekend. Next weekend, Paul and Sam are going to go down there. The next weekend, Creole and Lyle's going to be there. I mean, that's how that works. Danny Stone's going to come up there and he's going to wear that bank out because they all want a shot at them good quality fish. And let's face it, a trophy is a trophy in every fisherman's mind. If you think a 20-pound fish is a trophy, and I consider anything 20 pounds or bigger a trophy, I don't keep anything that big, especially blues, because when they get big, they're stronger, and I don't like eating them. But to some guys, it's got to be 50 or 100 pounds to be a trophy, not to me, and not to a lot of other folks. So
a 20-pound fish is a lot of people's lifetime fish.
Absolutely. Because all they've cost a little channel cat like this.
Yeah.
If that's the case, they need to go with me. I'll show them where them big channels are at.
No doubt. No doubt. No doubt. I got to go.
Oh, dude, you need to. Oh, yeah. I don't know. I've got 2 or 3 pair in here, but I thought I was prepared, but, I never am.
I found these up there at the Bass Shack, and they real good and sturdy, and they got a long jaw on their cleated jaw. So if you have to grab something, it'll get a hold of it.
Yeah, mine come from Mac Tool Company for picking up parts down hot motors.
There you go.
Danny Stone says he ain't leaving the Mississippi River. He got a record in there waiting on him.
There you go.
You're right, Danny.
I watched somebody a while back, and I can't remember who took them out on the boat and who it was because it's been a long time. But they got a guide to take them out, a man and his wife. And those 2 people had unreal the amount of world record line class fish. And she had hooked on the one, Lyle, and she had fought that thing with 2-pound line, big catfish. And it probably wasn't 15 foot from the boat when it broke.
Oh.
And she had fought that thing half a day, going for that. It might have been 2 or 4. I forget what it was. It just amazed me. But the guy asked him, said, it's all in the rod and the reel and the line, but
and the
having the smooth drag. And I forget how much he said that they paid for the reel to be able to be as smooth as it was so line could play out when it needed to play out.
I will tell you this. If you're serious about catching and releasing big fish, I don't care what kind of reel you got. I prefer Abu Garcia over everything. I don't care what they cost. I've used them all. Nothing compares to them in my mind. But the best thing you can do for any reel is get ceramic washers for your drag. Put them in there. They are consistently smooth. You won't get that jerking as it's going out nearly as bad. You'll be happier because when that's when the line breaks. Something breaks, either your leader or your line, whatever it is. It don't with a steady pull, especially with mono, you got that stretch in there. Well, you don't with braid, so you got to use your drag and the action of your rod. Now, if you have too light of action on your rod, it's just going to bend her over, plumb down to the handle, and you can't control that fish. If it's too heavy, you don't have nothing to bend over on it, and you're relying 100% on your drag. And if you don't have a good drag, it ain't too long, you don't have a drag at all.
Right. There's Art in the house with us tonight. What's up, Art and Chad Nolte? Carolina Catfish. Appreciate you coming in, buddy. Yeah, you're right. That's some of the first thing I done was take my Abus and have them washers changed. But a lot of times, even with the original drag washers, a lot of people don't realize that jerking ain't really the drag catching as much as it is the drag slipping.
That's right. That's 100% correct.
And a lot of times it's somebody's put too much oil or grease or whatever they use inside those reels trying to do it themselves, that it gets a little bit. If you get just a tad bit on those washers, then it's going to slip. Even water can cause that.
That's right. Now,
that's why the ceramics are so much better, or the carbon, as somebody saying Clearview saying carbon fiber.
Carbon fiber is a great drag. I'm going to tell you right now, If you haven't went and watched, Clearview Outdoors has several videos on working on Abu Garcia reels. Now, again, if you've got some other brand that you like, there's video somewhere about it
Yes.
doing it the same stuff that. But Skip has done a really good job of changing drag washers, of cleaning the inside of those, lubing them up. Check it out, Clearview Outdoors. Quality information that you'll enjoy. But if you don't want to do it or you don't feel confident in doing it, there's several reel repair companies that do really good work.
Yes.
I can't think of my buddy's name right now down in Alabama that does mine for me. He does excellent work. He can tune them up. He can put the drag washers in. He can clean them. He can fast tune them, make them spin forever and ever and ever. And that's what you need to do if you're not comfortable with doing it. But Skip has some wonderful videos about working on Abu Garcias. And I'm not saying every reel is the same, because they're not.
Right.
But they'll be very similar to that. And if you're worried about it, just go check it out. There'll be a schematic online. Follow Skip's instructions and do it with the reel of your choice. You'll be fine.
Yep.
But
Yeah,
me, I'm going to have Abus. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. And
They've
I
been
am
good to
too.
me.
Mainly right here in the Carolinas, we have so much of these pay lake carp lakes. I'm not these ain't catfish, like carp lakes.
Yep.
And every year you'll have their buddies, they'll go out and buy them some carp rods at tax time. Well, about July, August, when they need to pay the power bill because they spent the power bill money on buying rods and reels, I drive right down here to the pawn shop.
Yep.
You can get them for half the price as if you'd have went and bought them new, and there's nothing wrong with them because they're easy to, you can get them rebuilt. I mean, even if they are something, a worm gear, and there's tons of worm gears and stuff like that. So that's not, I mean, besides that, I still just like Abus.
Yeah.
I always have.
Here's something that a lot of people don't realize, and Skip has a video about this that tells how to do this. I am a firm believer in line counter reels. I use them when I am dragging baits with planer boards out to the side. If I'm catching fish and I've got 110 yards of line or feet of line out, or 50 or 500, whatever it is, doesn't matter.
Right.
It'll show up on there. Them line counters are very accurate. If you'll check that with your depth finder, you'll be surprised how close they really are.
I'll be dang.
But he has a link in there where you can buy the side plate with the line counter on it, and shows how to install that. And you don't have to buy the whole reel. Just take a 6500 Abu that you've got and buy the side plate, and you have a line counter reel, and you save yourself $100.
Well, yeah. And I mean, yeah, you're exactly right. And what I was talking about pawn shops, why would you buy a reel, say, for $90? And you say, well, I can't afford an Abu because they're 140 or whatever. I'll go get that same cotton picking Abu for $90 and have a better reel than what you just paid $80 for.
That's right.
I'm not, just because it's used and maybe have a few scratches on it, that ain't hurting the daggum performance of that reel.
I wonder if I send mine to Skip, I wonder if he'd hot tune me.
I'm going to tell you what I've done, Lyle. I've been used to those regular 6500s and 65 C3s.
Yep.
And I grabbed a hold of a buddy of mine's reel that had been hot fixed. Son, I had to put new line on his reel because I made a freaking mess out of that cotton picking line, son. I was not used to a reel that was as fast as that reel was.
Yeah.
And I didn't thumb down on that son of a gun fast enough. And, needless to say, the old pocket knife had to come out, start cutting.
I see Matt at Wannabe Outdoors says it might be low quality, but I use a PC film because it works for me right now. I got a fly reel from Matt here a while back. I'm not sure, but I think it is a PC film. But whatever it is beautiful. It's smooth. I've never put line on it, but I built me a new fly rod to take to Mendota, because I'm going to be catching them big channel cats on fly rods and on ice rods that
Oh,
I built. And that reel is sexy as hell. I can't wait to get it on that rod.
hey,
I'm
I've
telling you, it's
seen,
awesome looking.
and Twisted Outdoors, he uses PC Fun,
Yep.
Frank, and
Yep.
you know, I need to get me some light action reels. I mean, I've lost all of them over the years and wore them out or whatever. I've still got a few left, and it's the old pins, spinning reels that are still great reels, but they just need to be replaced. It's time to put them on a shelf or whatever. But I'm looking into the PC Funds. I like their light action reels. They
There,
look good, and they've got a lot of great feedback from people from them.
there is several reel companies like PC Fun that's come out in the last few years that is really good quality reels. They're
Yep.
less expensive than an Abu or a Pin and some of them things. People are having great success with them.
Yep.
And if they work for you at a cheaper price, God bless you and them both.
Yep.
Because there's nothing like saving money. If you don't believe me, go check out Fishing and Stuff's website, YouTube channel, because old Keith is all about saving money and he'll
Yeah.
teach you how to do it.
Yeah, and I mean, and Keith's one of those people. If he wanted something brand new, he can do it. He can afford to do it.
Oh man.
But you're right. Save money is just don't get something that's going to give you low quality and maybe cost you a fish of a lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the reason I'm saying that, Lyle, and I hate to, I know people get tired of hearing me talk about Dieter or whatever. I've sat and watched him over the years and have different rods, different reels, and stuff on his boat. But when I hear anybody in the catfish world rear back and cast one of those reels and it sounds like the guts are going to fly out of it, or it sounds like the gears are grinding together, I don't give two pisses what you say the quality of that reel is. It is not what you think it is.
That's right.
I can take that 65C3 and cast it, and you can barely hear it. Unless you're throwing braid. Now, braid, you're going to hear a little bit more, but that is, you don't hear all of that noise. Because if I hear noise, I'm thinking something's getting ready to happen.
That's right. When your motor starts knocking in your truck, something's fixing to turn loose, buddy.
Yeah, and it might not be. It might be, because I know that when with gears, if you got a straight gear, they're going to be more noisy than if you got a gear that's turned cut. It's just the nature of the beast. It is what it is. But some of them just sounds pretty freaky. Oh hell, we got some.
You got one, yeah.
Here.
I have to get rid of that.
Yeah, we got to get rid of that. See if y'all can get rid of that. It's hard for me to do it on this side.
Let me see if I can find it in here.
Let's see. I can get it on my
Somebody
phone.
may have already got it. Somebody already got it.
Did they?
Well, or did they? Yeah, view deleted. Timed out by Creole. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you, Creole. Yeah, we got that junk right there, man.
We don't need that.
No.
We don't need, and they're not going to ever explain to me. I know this ain't about fishing, James, but YouTube or StreamYard, none of these people are going to tell me with all the technology they got, they can't prevent that if they wanted to.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah.
They can prevent it if they want to.
As just like all the daggum spam calls and stuff like that.
Oh, God, I get them. I'm getting ready to turn 65. And I'm going to tell you right now, when you get ready to turn 65, your phone is lit up all day long for people trying to sell you something for when you retire.
Yep.
And they, little do they know I've been retired. So I've already got that stuff all figured out down pat. I'm done with the insurance companies. I've already got it all set up for what I'm going to do, but they calls just keep coming. And I bet I get 10 trees a year in mail that I just don't even open up, just throw away in the trash.
Right. Oh, yeah. It drives me
Thank
crazy.
You, Matt.
And I'm going to tell you another one that's driving me crazy is all these freaking phone calls that want to buy my house.
Yep.
You know what I tell them? 2.5, and I'll sell every freaking thing, even the cotton picking cat with it.
Matt with Wannabe Outdoors says he would have. I think I've got him gone, but he would have got rid of him. But he's not got a blue wrench, so I removed him. But hopefully he'll stay gone.
Yeah. Oh, that ain't nothing like what it used to be, is it, Lyle?
No, my God,
we
James,
have
you
5
remember
or
those?
10 every freaking night, man.
What was the stuff we used to have to use years ago?
Google Hangouts.
Hangouts. My God, they get in on them Hangouts, and you'd have to have somebody sitting there just to get rid of those. It wasn't every week, but when it was bad. But take you an hour to set up the show and an hour when he was done to get everything lined out.
That's if your guest had enough internet to run it.
Yeah.
Or it was crazy, man.
Thank you, Chad, for hiding them from the channel. But yeah, that's all we had. That's all we had. We didn't know any better, and I was working, man. We was going to spend a bunch of money on a program when StreamYard come out, and it saved me a ton because I was already committed to go, and it come out, and I said, well, why would I do that when they've got nearly everything that I want? So
I found that StreamYard there. It was a changer. It really was
a game changer. Yeah.
Another tool, guys and gals, I'm going to show you is something that I use when the fish start short biting. And a lot of times that's right before the spawn or after the spawn, and sometimes late winter, you'll get some of those short bites or mouthing of the bait. And instead of cutting your line and retying you a double hook rig, there's your big hook. There's your piece of rubber worm and a big treble. These are one of the saltwater trebles. And what I do is I slide that rubber worm over the eye. I'm probably going to tear this rubber worm. It's old. Yep, I'm gonna. Y'all know what I'm doing. Or you can do it with a piece of surgical tubing. Either way. I carry another rig. It's got bass rigs in there, rubber worms and stuff like that, because you never know what you might need to catch your bait. And I'll do it right here where y'all can see it. A bigger piece of rubber. There's a piece of rubber. And you stick it over that eye of that treble. And you can do this without cutting your hook off your line. Your hook will be tied to your line. Just take and run that hook through that eye and that rubber worm. And guess what? Now you got a stinger hook.
And that will stop short biting a lot.
Yes.
I've been doing that a long time. Never told anybody about it. It was a secret that I kind of kept to myself. But it's a great way when fish are short biting. And what I use is just a piece of clear tubing, and I run it down through there, run it up, and then slip the tubing right up over top of it.
Right.
But either way, however you do it, you can also tie that on, with your line to the shank of the bigger hook, like you was snelling it on there. That also works. There's several ways to do that, but absolutely, if you're getting short strike to death. If you're especially a tournament fisherman, my God, if you're getting short strike to death, use that, a big piece of bait, and stick it in the bait also, and they're going to get one of them.
Yeah, one of them's going to get stuck.
That's right.
And another little trick, I sat and watched Chris Sauter's video, and he loves the two-hook Kentucky rig. And I was watching his video, and he was showing using a demon dragon in between his hooks. But something I've done for years since I've figured out the Kentucky rig is that after I tie my last hook on up the line away from my swivel and the other hook, is I put one of these little peg floats on there, Lyle, right there at my swivel, and I peg it. And the reason being, it will always keep that rig up and down.
Yep. Now, I'm gonna. Damn, I got to tell all this stuff. I guess I don't care. I want people to catch fish. If you see this float, of course, this one's green, and I'm using a green screen. but this is a 2.5-inch float. If I could get a 3-inch float, that's what I would get, because these
You
floats.
can.
Well, I can't find damn things. If I do find them, I'm
you
going
can,
to.
Lyle, guess what? You can take and twist the end of that wire, and Billy Boy bobbers right there. You go.
That's what I need, because I want these in foam, the biggest I can get them. If I'm on the river, I want to float the biggest piece of bait. And Demon Dragons without current will not float their bait as high as a foam float will. And I'm not down. I'm not knocking anybody's float.
Nope.
They make noise. They're designed to make noise, but I want them to float bait. And this, hello, baby girl. This is what you use. The bigger it is, the better I like it. Now, if I'm on the lakes up here, I don't need anything that big because I'm not usually using as big a bait.
Right.
But I want the bait to be 6 inches to a foot off the bottom, and whatever it takes to float it up that high, that's what I want to use. And if I got to use, 2 of them floats, then that's what I'm going to do. Use 2 of them because I want that bait up off that bottom. If the fish are laying in the mud and they're right on the bottom, if you can get that 6 inches off the bottom, when you drag it by them, you're going to hit them in the head with it. That's perfect.
Yep.
They don't get no better.
Yeah. Agreed. Another tool, a hugger, a koozie, whatever. Put your line in it.
Wow, you betcha.
That's just a neat little trick. But you're right, Lyle. And a lot of people underestimate if they don't want to use a float. You can, if you see in suspended fish 3, 4, 5 foot off the bottom, and a regular Santee rig ain't gonna put your bait there. Put one of those big floats up and a longer leader, and allow that bait to suspend up there, at least close to where those fish are. A lot of times, Lyle, you've seen them, those suspended fish, it's hard to get them to come to the bottom to eat. But if you suspend baits in the same water column as they are, you're more apt to get one to bite.
My little girl just come in.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, she been out in the garage. We had my daughter and grandson was over.
The worst thing about the ghost floats, you can't tell if. What are you talking about, Danny? Danny, you just got some ghost floats. They just won some off Mark's thing.
I sent a bunch of stuff out today that was giveaway on them. Get down. You're scratching my leg. 2 guys that had won on Mark's thing, and David Smith. I sent his package out. He won a big box of jigs, and he wanted some different ones. So we sent them with it, and I had a big shipping day today, so it was really good.
Yeah, Danny, contact me if you got if y'all got a problem with my product or Lyle's product or anybody else's product out there. Please contact those people and
Absolutely.
let them know what it is.
Yeah, we can't fix it if we don't know. And years ago, that's why we had Pro Staff stuff.
Oh, he's talking about your invisible float because it was green. Have been worried.
When I come out with bumping rods, people was not using. There was no catfish specific bumping rods. Everybody was using musky rods, and they was breaking them, and they was wanting them fixed all the time. And finally, I said, no, we're done fixing rods.
Right.
We're not fixing no more than junk ass musky rods.
Right.
You want one, I'll build you one. And I found the company, and it took 3 years to come up with that. Nobody was building a catfish specific bumping rod. And my God, I could sold 1 million of them damn things if I had them.
Yeah.
And we got them to where they was as perfect could be. And I had the roughest people that I could find that I give them to use. Jason Mathena and Jason Jackson. Those 2 are as hard on equipment and catch giant fish all year long. Great guys. And when they said that's as good as they'll ever be, I took them at their word. So I quit. And still today, people are sending those rods overseas, trying to get them copied, and they can't do it. And I won't tell them where it's at. I've offered several of them companies Just give me $5 for every one you sell for 5 years, and I'll give you the formula to make them. And nobody wants to do it, so I'll just keep building them. But the thing is, you'll get them when I get them done because I'm in no rush these days. I'm old and don't care.
Right. And Lyle, it ain't just you I've heard that from. James Burke, good friend of mine, has told me the same thing. That there are some stingy people out there that don't want to work with somebody that tries to steal somebody else's ideas or try to.
Happens on YouTube every day, buddy. These
Yeah.
people can't. A lot of these guys can't think of anything on their own. They take somebody else's idea and modify it.
Yeah. And I don't understand it. I guess because I was not raised that way. I just don't understand that kind of mindset.
I don't either.
And you know what? I'm glad I don't. I'm glad I'm not that kind of person.
Yeah. Matt says, James, everyone loves your floats. I can't wait to get more.
Thank you.
They're awesome, man.
Yeah,
they really are.
So much. It's I just wanted to produce a product that would benefit each and every one of y'all. That would take you outside of your box and help you catch fish in a different way. It's just, to me, it's just another tool in your toolbox. It's to add to your arsenal of things.
That's exactly right.
One of these days, I'll own a purple and gold black horse bumping rod. I hear you.
I promise you, Creole, the blank that I use, you'll not find one any more sensitive. I think everybody talks about how sensitive theirs is, but ask Doc Lang. He can use anything he wants. Ask him what he uses.
Yeah. Yeah.
He uses the one that got pulled out of his hand. I'll tell you what he used. It got pulled out of his hand, bounced off the back deck of my boat, and he grabbed it right before it went in the water. The fish got off.
That's proof in the pudding.
Yeah, he turned around and looked at me, and he said, I guess you know you ain't never getting this back. I said, yeah, I know.
Yeah. And Lyle, that is just, to me, that says a lot. When a man with that kind of experience, the name that he has in the catfishing world, that says a lot when somebody says, that's what I'm going to use.
I'm going to tell you a story.
Any rod in the world, but this is the one I choose to use.
I'll tell you a little story about Doc. Probably 30 years ago. It's been over 20, I know. Back when everybody was on the BOC and I was getting kicked off every other week for whatever.
Right.
And I called Doc one day or sent him a message. I said, Doc, I'm extremely busy. I can't test all these rods. And nobody done pro staff stuff in, little companies like me.
Yeah.
And I said, if I send you some rods, will you test them and tell me if they're as good as I think they are? He said, sure. And that's how Doc Lang and I got to know each other. I sent him and Lynn some rods, and they used them. And I always had a policy that if you caught a record fish, state, world, whatever the case, even a lake record, I didn't care.
Right.
On a rod that I built you, I would build you a rod with that information on the decal.
Oh, I hear you.
And Lynn caught the West Virginia state record, and I built her one and sent it to her. Cool. Yeah, it was, I'm not buying the insurance policies for that big number stuff. That's just stupidity, in my opinion. Right. I'm not going to spend that kind of money and do it for 4 or 5 years and thinking somebody may or may not catch one. I've got guys caught over 100-pound fish on my rod, so that's all I care about.
Right.
But anyhow, Doc and I done that for years and years and years until I finally met him and Lynn at the Sea Arc tournament when it was held in St. Louis. And it was the first time that we'd ever met each other. And, man, they was great folks. Lynn was the nicest lady anybody ever want to meet. And we got to become great friends. We fished together quite a bit over the years. But Doc was a great help to me because I needed to know if I needed longer, this, shorter, that, different kind of reel seats. And if everybody thinks that you got to have aluminum reel seats, that's the most stupid thing I ever heard in my life. If you use a Fuji reel seat, there's no reason to use that extra weight. I mean, it's just a waste of energy on your rod. That's
and
just
you know what, Lyle? I love the trigger.
Well, a lot of people do, and now they've just come out recently with a metal one with a trigger on it, but they're real funky and they feel
Yeah,
bad in your hands.
they do.
But
They do.
why
But
add the extra weight if you don't need it? Use a quality product, and you don't need all that extra weight
yep,
because the big e-glass rods that we use for that are heavy anyhow. But I went to mainly graphite now, and we
right.
have wonderful luck with them. But Doc was a great asset to me. I'd been building rods for years and years and years when him and I hooked up together. But Doc Lang is one of the finest men you'll ever meet,
Yep.
and we're not as tight as we once was because he's moved to Alabama, and I really don't like fishing that lake. I think compared to where the places I fish up here, it's a joke in my mind because I know what's in that Mississippi, Missouri rivers. But I don't like fishing it at all. If I'm going to fish a lake, I'll just soon stick around here and fish Lake of the Ozark or Truman because I like them better. You're right. I'm not going to catch 100-pound fish out of those most likely, but I don't have to drive very far, and the action is hot. So there's that. But Doc is a super nice guy and do anything for anybody nearly.
Yeah.
And if he says something's good, he means it in his heart, and that was always good enough for me.
And Danny, no, they when I said what I said is that, if you were having a problem, I want to know good or bad, because I can't fix what I don't know is broken. And I think that was funny when I realized exactly what you were saying, but no, I'd never get mad. I mean, the only way I'd get mad if somebody was actually on social media just outright bashing
Or
me
lying
and my
about
product.
stuff.
But then, you know what? They don't pay my bills and they don't sleep in my bed. So I
That's
don't really give a crap what they think about me. You know what I'm saying? That's the way I look
exactly
at
right.
it. But Danny, buddy, you are perfectly fine, friend. I misunderstood what you were saying, and no, I didn't get mad because if I was thinking right then, as soon as I seen that and I misread it, Lyle, my mind went back into looking at my product. I was
Yeah,
looking
that's
at my
right.
product and trying to
That's right.
figure out what can I do to fix that for Danny.
That's exactly what, and that's what somebody that really cares about his business and his customers do.
Yeah,
They fix whatever the case is.
yeah.
Um, other than shipping, and right now shipping is horrible. I don't give a damn what company you use. None of them except Chad's. Whatever Chad does is good with the hell. But I am so butthurt with FedEx right now. Everything takes 2 or 3 weeks to get here when it's shipped to me on FedEx. The postal service seems like everything is behind. I'll get a date and confirmation numbers, and it's supposed to be on a certain date. Hell, it never seems to make it on time, but it does get there.
Right.
And I have great success with the post office because it's the only game in town
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
me. I mean, I gotta drive to go to UPS or FedEx or any of the other guys. So the post office is it with me.
Right. And, we use stamps.com. So I'm able to save y'all a little bit on shipping.
I
It
just got
does
hooked up
say,
with some of them companies today.
and it's actually convenient as long as you don't, about the time you get wired up and got a bunch of packages going through about the fifth package, sometimes that sucker will say it don't even recognize the printer on there. And then you gotta shut it down, and that's when you have to look around and hope the wife ain't throwing that $3,000 computer through the wall over here because she done got
Yeah, buddy.
aggravated and mad with it. That's why I let her do it.
Yeah,
And want to be
I
outdoors.
understand.
I got a PayPal, but I do not have it set up yet. I'm working on getting my float page set up, and it's going. I'm working on Lyle through shop. What is it? Oh my God! I just had a brain. It's
Yeah, I don't know.
websites. Shopify. Shopify, I think is
Spotify?
the name of it.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's a couple of ones like that, but they actually help keep your page updated and stuff like that. It's a little bit more than like, GoDaddy and stuff like that. So that's what I'm working on. The page is getting pretty close to being done. And when it is, I'll let y'all. No, there's a Spotify, but there's also a Shopify.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that.
UPS or UP. I mean,
Uh,
sometimes
United
I
States
got,
Postal Service, and it was supposed to have been there today, Matt.
yeah.
Matt? Did I send you the shipping tracking numbers? Matt's getting a new fly rod, by the way.
Oh, I hear you.
It turned out pretty good. I kind of liked it. I liked it well enough. I built myself one just like it.
Oh, I hear you. I've
So,
got a couple fly rods and setups that I just I always went back to my micro lights.
well, here's the thing. Kim Burnett is one of the greatest fly tires and jig tires there is.
Right.
He's a great guy. He does seminars and teaches classes, and he does them live on Facebook and stuff, and that's how he catches his bluegill.
Okay.
And I love to do it, so that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to catch him on. I'm going to catch some big channel cat in Mendota on fly rod. Now I'm just going to do it.
But now next year, me and Wampus Cat, we wanted to go this year, and we didn't get to do it. But when the caddis flies comes out, the jar flies, caddis flies, whatever they call them,
right?
These guys are going up there on the James River, and when they have a big population of them that come out, and when they do, fly fishing galore, Lyle. And you know what you fly fishing for? Those big old carp. Could you imagine catching a 30-pound carp on a fly rod?
I can. That would be amazing. I would love to do that. Now, when we go to Mendota, the carp are spawning. They're up in the shallows. And
Right.
a lot of times you can't get a boat up in there. So I'm hoping I can whip that jig out there to do them. Because you get one of them 20-pound carp, you got the bait for the whole weekend.
Oh,
You cut that baby up in the cut bait, and you don't have to have nothing else.
There's a guide up here on Moss Lake. Moss Lake don't have really no big cats in it, but he's got some big carp, and it's got a big muddy creek or river, small river. Well, it's not. Well, I'm gonna say creek for y'all. That feed it, and them carp just come in there by the bundles, and I just think, man, and he's got a boat like those bonefish boat guys got.
Yeah.
And he got that big front end for you to stand up on the front. Yep. I mean, I just thought, because a carp is a hard fighting son of a gun, man.
Oh, man, especially in current.
Yeah. And I seen a show a long time ago. This guy was pushed him up this river up in Delaware. And he was after buffalo carp, or what? I guess they're a carp. Anyway, they're buffalo, smallmouth buffalo. And he taking and using crawdad and flicking it out there. What them buffalo was doing was turning over as a rocky river. In fact, that's the name of it, Rocky River. And then big buffalo was turning over rocks and eating the crawdads and the different things that come out from under them. Well, this carp was so big, they was about a 10 or 12-pound largemouth swimming with it that looked like a 2-pound largemouth. But what it was faster than that carp. So when that carp would turn over them rocks, that old largemouth would shoot in there and grab the daggum food. But he finally hooked up on that son of a gun in that rushing water, and it was about a 48-pound buffalo in that rocky river. And that man had his hands full, son.
I guarantee it.
That man had his freaking hands full. Lyle, I don't want to go over no longer because don't they have a show coming on with Pontoon Jody and them?
I think they do. I would like to touch on this. Creole says those Patriot floats have a date with some big old alligator gar.
I've sent
that makes some good filming right there.
Yeah, I've sent some large ones to Texas, and the guys have not sent me anything back, whether they've used them or not. I just, out of the blue, I seen them on there gar fishing, and I sent them a couple large ones just to see. But we'll see. Mendota Marsh. There you go.
There we go.
You put them on there.
Make it work. It's been a great take time tonight, James. Thank you so much for inviting me on your show. I appreciate it very much. I hope that we've shared a little bit of information and be helpful to someone.
And we appreciate everybody hanging in there with us. I hope, like Lyle said, I hope we give you some great information. Well, it's been a while since I've done a 2-hour show.
Me too.
But I
to cut them off at an hour. I think that people go overboard with stuff, but when you're putting out quality information and stuff that'll help people, sometimes you just got to do it.
And I had a good time, Lyle. It's been a while since we sat down and done this, and
kind of like old times, wasn't it?
Yeah, I enjoy it. And I mean, really, shows like this, to me, you get to bring out so much great information and have such a good time just sharing knowledge and just, I don't know, it's fun.
There's a comment that Matt just put in chat, says, let's give a set away. I'll pay for it.
All righty. Well, we can do that.
Matt, that's pretty good of you. Thank you so much.
And Matt, if you want to do that, buddy, just send me your email address and just message me when it's over. Let me pull this up. And
that's very, very good of you, Matt. Thank you so much. And by the way, for those that don't know, Matt is a former military personnel, and we want to thank him for his service. I've personally met him. He's a super nice guy.
David Smith.
I sent him some stuff today. This is his lucky week.
Yeah, David, just message me, my friend, and we'll get you a set of floats out to you. Don't forget, guys, message me or I'll liable to forget it by morning.
Thank you,
Not
Kevin.
meaning to.
Yeah, I understand how that works, and the older you get, the worse that becomes. There's Barnett. Welcome.
Well, everybody, don't forget to go check out Doc Tales with Pontoon Jody and oh my God, see you.
LG Bass.
LG Bass.
Tom will be hosting.
He'll kick me in my tail for not mentioning his name. A good supporter of our channels for a while, Lyle, and all of them are.
Great guy.
Yep. God bless y'all. Go check out their channel. Check out their show. I know it's going to be a good one. I'll be in there in a little bit. I got to pack up and head to the house. And, Lyle, it is pouring rain.
I knew it would be. We had a lot of fun. Thanks, everybody, for watching.
God bless y'all. See you.